While Democrats demand vaccine passports to buy groceries, they're not screaming that requiring ID to vote is somehow racist and impossible. Elon Musk just connected the dots in a way that should terrify every establishment politician. Meanwhile, a bombshell admission from Fulton County proves exactly what we've suspected all along about non-citizens voting. We've known this for a very long time. So this isn't just about election integrity. It's about whether your vote will even matter ever again. When 90% of Americans support voter ID, but Mitch McConnell votes against it, you guys are witnessing the uniparty in action. They don't represent you. They represent the system that profits from chaos and uncertainty. If they can register non-citizens in 2013 and 2017 without consequences, even right now, what's stopping them in 2026? Your ability to choose your representative hangs in the balance. The SAVE Act isn't just policy. It's the difference between a republic and a rigged game where your voice gets drowned out by people who aren't even supposed to be here and voting. But that's how they have their congressional. You know what else the establishment doesn't want you guys to have? Real solutions for your health problems. Let me share something personal. For years, my wife battled chronic pain and anxiety from her diagnosis, endless doctor visits, treatments that didn't help. Watching her struggle daily, it broke my heart. Then Jonathan Otto introduced us to red light therapy. Her pain vanished, anxiety lifted, she became herself again. While politicians play games with your voting rights, they're also keeping you sick and dependent on their broken healthcare system. Red light therapy uses specific wavelengths to reduce inflammation, boost cellular energy, and promote natural healing. No prescriptions, no side effects, just your body doing what it is designed to do. The same people lying about voter ID are the ones that are lying about your health options also. Don't let them control your health like they are trying to control your vote and your mind. All right, but here's the twist that changes everything. Elon Musk didn't just call out the hypocrisy, he exposed the entire playbook. The same bureaucrats who made you show papers to eat at Applebee's are now the ones that are claiming that black Americans can't figure out how to get an ID, use a printer, or even know where the DMV is. That's not progressive. That's patronizing racism wrapped in fake compassion. That's all they do. They have to wedge these things. And Fulton County's attorney just proved this isn't theoretical. Non-citizens were actually registered to vote. Let's get into it, guys. This will be a fun one. We have a tweet, an X post from the Persistence, our friend Scott Pressler. Senator John Thune, I mean this in earnest. The American people are angry. We gave you the majority. We gave the Republicans the White House, House and Senate. President Trump is doing his job. The House is doing its job. The Senate is failing to act. If you do not bring the SAVE Act, things are going to happen. Let's see what he says.
It's basically saying, pass the Save America Act or bust. Otherwise, the Republican voters are not going to come out this November.
Scott's a good friend of mine, and he's doing incredible things out there, and he's absolutely right. This is one of the things that he's been advocating for a very long time, along with most conservatives. And 86% of the people agree. Voter ID is common sense. You have to have your ID to go on an airplane. You have to have an ID in order to get alcohol. You have to have an ID to do a lot of things. Drive a car, move around. You know, when you check your kids out of school, you got to have an ID for that. And to say that women don't know how to change their last names after getting married or how to prove that, oh, it's insane. These people, they want to sit here and create fake narratives to try to control you. They have to have their wedge issues. But again, in order to have these IDs to vote, they have to have the illegal immigrants around there. You go to Illinois, you go to California, you get a driver's ID, and guess what? You're registered to vote automatically. Minneapolis doesn't care. You do sign an affidavit swearing and affirming that you're a citizen, but they don't double check. They don't do any of that stuff. So Pressler's calling out the Senate leadership, but he's not alone. Other GOP voices are amplifying this exact message about Republican inaction. We have an X post from Eric Daughtry saying, boom, Scott Pressler nails it. I have a bone to pick. We gave the Republicans everything on a golden plate. Let's see.
A bone to pick. And I was just in D.C. yesterday outside of John Thune's office, Senator John Thune. Listen, we just gave Republicans everything on a golden platter.
Yes.
We gave them the House. We gave them the Senate. We gave them the White House. We won everything for the Republican Party. Okay, I love that we are securing the border. Mm-hmm. I love that illegal immigration is at its lowest point in modern history. I love that we are deporting criminal illegal aliens. I love that President Trump is trying to get peace in the Middle East and trying to stop the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, and he's bringing down gas prices, etc. I think Americans want more deportations, so I'm glad that Kristi Noem is going to be hiring more ICE agents, and they're ramping that up. I think that's one thing the American people want more of. They want more of economic relief. which I think President Trump is working on via, I think deportation is important. But where's the SAVE Act? Where is election security? Where is election integrity? And quite frankly, this is their opportunity. Are they going to blow it like we did with Paul Ryan in 2016, where I'll remind the viewer,
I'm going to say we have control of the House, the Senate. We have the tie-breaking vote if needed with J.D. Vance. We've got Donald Trump in office. We've got the MAGA movement going crazy and strong right now. And these guys are refusing to pass it, refusing to knock out the filibuster. Republicans always do this when we have control. We say we want to be the fair party. We don't want to use our party majority to just ram things through. That age is done. The Democrats do not care when they do that to us. They never hold back. They never stop. Look at Illinois. Look at all the other states where they have a super majority. They run up taxes as high as they can. They force through as many insane policies that they can because they know they have control. They know this. Don't let the Democrats do it. We need this one thing. And even Democrats are going to benefit from this. It's not just the Republican Party that's going to benefit. We're going to know that the elections are secure. Both parties will know that. That's why it's a common sense. That's why 86% of Americans agree on this one topic, that voter ID makes sense. Let's get back to Scott.
We had the White House and we had the Senate. And what happened in 2018? Democrats won. AOC was elected. Rashida Tlaib was elected. Ilhan Omar was elected. The Squad was elected. Do Republicans want a repeat of 2019 when President Trump and the Republican Party lost the House and President Trump was impeached and his agenda was stalled and went on to the election of Joe Biden in 2020?
Right.
Or are Republicans going to actually use this one moment in time to nuke the filibuster, be responsible on behalf of the American people, pass law after law, do everything in their power, even if they are unsuccessful, do everything in their power to do right by the American people? You've got 1 year, not even. The election is Tuesday, November 3rd, 2026. So,
I haven't heard much about it. I haven't heard enough of it.
You know, it's insane that we have to sit here and advocate for them to do this. We elected the senators and our representatives to execute the will of the people, not the will of their lobbyists, their constituents, their donor base, or any of those things. We don't care about you getting money. We don't. We care about you executing on good faith the will of the people. And the will of the people, 86% majority, even to the Democrats in office, 86% not approval from the nodding in approval from American citizens saying that we want this to happen. It is your job as a republic, as our representative leaders, to do this. Get it done, or you will be primaried, and we'll put people in that will do it. The grassroots anger is real. I'm grassroots, sorry guys. But now we're seeing elected officials echo the same demands. Watch how Congressman Keith Self frames this as facing Democrats into the spotlight. Another one from the Persistence. Says, wow, everyone needs to hear this. Congressman Keith Self gets it right. If Democrats want to oppose the will of 83% of Americans, again, majority, most people agree. Most people are reasonable folks. The 3% on the extreme right, the 3% on the extreme left, take those out. Most people are pretty close to the middle, and they agree. Common sense. If I got to show an ID, to get a pack of cigarettes, then I should be able to show an ID when I want to go vote for who's going to be telling us our taxes.
It is the duty of those who want to filibuster a bill to speak. That's the way the filibuster is supposed to work. Senators who wish to stall or filibuster legislation must show up on the floor of the Senate, stand up, and speak as long as they can in opposition to the bill. But that's not the way it works today. The situation we find ourselves in today is more like the zombie filibuster, one that prevents legislation from coming to the Senate floor. Senators reap the benefits of a filibuster without putting in the work. The modern-day silent filibuster that the Senate uses is truly despicable. It allows legislation to die without debate, without explanation, and without accountability. This was never how the Senate was designed to function. If Democrats want to oppose the will of 83% of Americans who support the Save America Act, they should be required to do so openly, on the Senate floor, and in real time. The House has done its job 3 times now. It's time for the senators to finally do theirs.
You know, that's the whole thing on the filibuster. They used to have to stand there at the podium and read or speak and actually stay awake. And there's people that used to read cookbooks and all these other things, all these cool theatrics that they used to do back in the day. And if they wanted to filibuster something and run the timeout so the vote couldn't come up to the Senate. Now, instead of that, these guys will go up there, they push a button, they say, I'm filibustering this. They're not required to stand there and do their diligence. The Senate was always a place for disclosure and debate, and they took the debate out of the Senate. That's the point of being a House of Representatives or in the Senate. You are there to debate these ideas that make our nation great. Not to be silent, not to go on social media and put these little clips out and stuff and say, I'm filibustering this because I want to. And you know the longest filibuster in United States history was? It was when the Democrats wanted to get rid of segregation. Democrats filibustered for how many days, how much time? Put us in the comments. Fact check that. Google it. If you're on the other side of the aisle, Google and see that that's true. So we have Self wants Democrats and on record opposing this, and that's exactly what we're seeing happen. The White House is already making contradictory statements about ID requirements. Let's see what Caroline Leavitt has to say. Clowns like Chuck Schumer think you would have to show photo ID to attend the Democrat National Convention, but not to vote. Democrats in Congress should be asked every single day by reporters why they oppose common sense voter ID requirements that 90% of Americans support. From Democrats demand ID to get into their convention, but not to vote for president. Hypocrisy. These are the same people who don't want you to have a gun. These are the same people who don't want you to exercise your Second Amendment rights. Yet they all have armed security. What's good for me, but not for thee, is the rule of the land with these people. We're going to scroll down a little bit. So the White House is getting defensive, maybe, because they know polling is devastating. So let's see what they have to say. We know the polling is on our side on this issue. I think the framing's a little bit off on that. From Rapid Response 47, it says the Save America Act is a common sense piece of legislation that has now passed the House of Representatives to ensure that voter ID is a requirement in the United States of America. Most developed nations have voter ID. Even the countries that say we're draconian and we're doing all this stuff, they have voter ID too. Iraq has voter ID. And they're not even, let's watch.
Well, as the president said in that Truth Social post, he's discussing and exploring legal options for a potential executive order with respect to voter ID. But this is something he's made very clear he wants Congress to get done. The Save America Act is a common sense piece of legislation that has now passed the House of Representatives to ensure that voter ID is a requirement in the United States of America. This is a common sense policy that nearly 90% of the country agrees with. You need an ID to go and purchase alcohol. You need an ID to go to the library and check out a book. And so the president thinks you should have an ID to vote in our nation's elections. And I know the vast majority of Americans agree with him on that. And he wants Congress to move quickly to get it done.
So the voter ID thing, in my opinion, is probably a double-edged sword, because once you go through the voter rolls of all the states, and the Department of Justice will have to do that, once you go through that, you're going to see the names associated with driver's license who are non-citizens. And then that will give them home address and physically last updated addresses on the driver's license. When the government goes through that and they start taking away, 30 million people, 20 million people out of this country, the Democrats are going to lose 20, 30 congressional seats all over the country. And that means the 276 to wins now in the 240s. And the Democrats will not have a Democrat presidential person win for the next 30 years. That's when the time when their population will come back on par with the Republican population inside of those voting centers. This is the hill they have to die on. So it's not just voter ID and illegals voting inside of it, but it's the state and the government having the information that where the illegals live and if they're registered to vote or not. Then they can cross-reference and see if they did vote or didn't vote. There's a whole bunch of stuff with that. But this all ties back to them having to have their apportioned seats and 750,000 per congressional district. It is very, very important for the Democrats. They have to die on this hill, or otherwise they're not going to have a president or probably control of the House for 30 years. So that 90% number isn't just talking points. It's becoming a hammer that Trump allies are using to go after both parties. We have an ex post from Jason Cohen saying, Lara Trump goes off on Dems and Republicans not fully championing voter ID. I could think of anything more important. Look at the states like Kamala Harris won in 2024. What do they have in common? Let's see.
Couldn't think of anything more important, quite frankly. I mean, you look around the country at the states that Kamala Harris won in 2024. What do they all have in common? they do not require any sort of ID to go vote. If we don't know that we can trust our elections, then we really can't call ourselves the United States of America. If there's any room for any funny business, then people are never going to trust the process of voting, and that is foundational to who we are as Americans. And so, yeah, I think it is crazy that anyone would not be fully championing this. And you do have to ask yourself, from the perspective of the Democrats, why is it that if 71% of their voters believe that you should have to have an ID to go vote, to prove you are who you say you are, that you are of legal age and status to vote, and you can go vote in our elections, you're a legal United States citizen? What the only thing I can think of is that you have nefarious intent. And I think everybody at this point, Miranda, knows that. And it's completely ridiculous. And so for anyone out there on either side of the aisle who is not pushing hard to make our elections more transparent, to make it so that every American feels secure when they go vote, it is a shameful thing. It has nothing to do with race. It is absolutely racist to say that it has something to do with race. We all know that. You know, you have to have an ID to get on an airplane, to go do just about anything in this country. You should have an ID to go do your civic duty of voting in our elections. It's ridiculous that anyone would be pushing the other way.
And that's the whole thing, what it boils down to. Like, this makes Democrats feel better, makes Republicans feel better, and we all want to know who's voting. That's easy. It's an easy thing. It's something that shouldn't even be like hard. They're saying that women don't know how to change their ID. They're saying that women don't know how to change their last name or prove that they change their last name. And they have to show a birth certificate. Like they're trying to imply that women are not intelligent. They're also trying to imply the African-American population doesn't know how to use a printer or a computer or know where the local DMV is. There's plenty of videos out there that show that talking point is absolutely bonkers. And these people are all tweaked in the head to even try to imply that these things are happening. It's insane. But Lara Trump is taking this beyond just Democrats. She's calling out Republicans too. And she's got receipts about which states require ID. From RNC Research, Democrat Rep. Jared McCorwitz called out for lying about common sense voter ID that the overwhelming majority of Americans support. Let's see.
Having an ID to vote would be in step with the law. So are you going to vote for the law?
If they put forward a bill that says you can use your driver's license or your state-issued identification to vote, I support that. We have that in Florida, but the SAVE Act goes way beyond that.
Okay, they have that in other places too, but how many illegal immigrants have CDL licenses? How many American families have been killed over the last few months from illegals driving semi-trucks and causing accidents? How many illegal immigrants? When I was 18, there was a car accident. The guy wasn't a legal citizen. Guess what? He didn't have insurance. And that cost me a lot of money for a long time because he had no insurance. I had to pay for it. The guy didn't even show up to court. Let's continue.
It would affect women whose birth certificate doesn't match their driver's license. It will
because women are stupid, apparently, right? Come on,
people to go and re-register to go get this new voter ID.
Congressman. That's not true.
It is. It is absolutely true. This is about depressing turnout. It's not about making sure non-citizens vote. Let them use their driver's license.
Either,
Maria.
Congressman. The SAVE Act
Maria,
is a requirement for ID to vote. Period.
That guy drank the Kool-Aid. He didn't just drink the Kool-Aid. He probably made the Kool-Aid. And again, that was what I was just talking about. They're trying to say that we're stupid, that we don't know how to do these things, that the American people is so stupid they don't know how to use a printer. They don't know how to go back and register to vote. They don't know how to get a driver's license. And they want to use the driver's licenses because that's going to stop the whole point of this. We just talked about how they're giving illegal immigrants driver's licenses in all these states. Look at Maryland, look at Illinois, look at Michigan, look at California. Illegal immigrants are police officers in those states. They are walking around carrying firearms, arresting American citizens. And they're being empowered by the governors to do this. So, of course, yeah, they want you to show a driver's license because there's nothing to verify in most of the states where this would be impacted that they're even a legal citizen. And when Democrats try to defend their position, they're getting fact-checked in real time. It's becoming impossible for them to make their case. Sorry, I'm very heated on this issue because it is so racist and sexist. It's disgusting. Saying that women aren't smart, black people aren't, intelligent enough to use a computer. Come on. These people are insane. They're going to clip that out and make this go against me. We have Senator John Kennedy saying dead people may still be able to vote, but they can't cash checks anymore. Thanks to the law I got passed, the government is done sending dead people checks to be cashed by others. Let's see.
We send billions of dollars to dead people, and they get cashed. The checks get cashed. It's obviously a lot of fraud.
And we're talking about Social Security checks.
No, we're talking about all kinds of checks.
All kinds of checks.
Yep. When you die, Katie, your name, not that you're going to die anytime soon, but when you die, your name goes to the Social Security Department. And they have a list of dead people. But they wouldn't share it with anybody else. They wouldn't share it with the Department of Treasury, for example. And I went to them and I said, why won't you tell Treasury who the dead people are? And Social Security said, well, we don't have the legal authority. And I said, sure you do. And they said, no, we don't. So I knew I wasn't going to get anywhere with them. So I had to go pass a bill. It took 4 years to pass the bill. Believe it or not, I had opposition. But we finally got it passed. And so far as I can tell, dead people can still vote, but they can't cash checks because we're not going to be sending them to them anymore. And it's going to save billions and billions and billions of dollars.
He's probably one of the funniest people in the Senate. He's always so on point with what he says. He is spot on. But he just said that it was very possible for people to cash Social Security checks that were dead, meaning those checks were probably going to non-citizens that used that person's ID, and they were collecting Social Security because they were getting sent to them. They have to cash a check. They can't say that they're not the person. And that's the other half of the illegal immigrant situation, is that in order for a lot of these people to work, they had to use, somebody else's Social Security, somebody else's name. So a lot of the crimes that were involved with the illegal immigrants is also identity theft. A lot of people don't get that. That's why they used E-Verify back in the early 2000s. We still use it, but that's why they implemented it. So the voter ID battle connects the broader election integrity issues that Republicans have been pushing since 2020. We have a post here from Leading Report saying, breaking, Kevin O'Leary, I love that guy, makes CNN panel almost start crying after calling them nuts. Uh-oh. These are always interesting. Let's see.
A quick last word.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm not sure.
My last word is, you're all nuts. Like, that's just...
Oh, my God.
Thank you, Kevin. That's
guys,
am I in on that?
Okay. Look, we got to keep it together here, okay?
We are.
Honestly. I mean, there's a way to talk about these things. If you don't have anything to say, just say that, and I won't come to you next time.
Important.
You don't
All
have
right,
basic
next
information,
for us,
Kevin. You don't know who's running for the
everyone,
Senate
thank
in
you
Texas.
for being here.
Yeah, that was a stretch. It was
Next.
insane.
Excuse me.
A shovel
Excuse
to the
me.
ballots?
Stop.
What's the shovel?
Kevin, stop.
The federal government lies.
Next for us.
He's creating
You know what
a
I'm saying?
pattern.
Like, what are you talking about?
Because you're creating the likelihood where he can
What
come up with a
likelihood?
different...
He's going to make fake ballots for the next time out of the old
you
ballots
think
from
that's
this
out of the
time? Oh,
question.
okay.
Hey, some truth comes out. We got to shut this guy up.
Federal agents with a Venezuelan national in Minneapolis, who they claimed had charged them with a snow shovel and attacked them.
What does that have to do with the
Let me get my
ballot?
point across, and then you can. And the point is
Help me,
that
help me.
the point is that they charged them criminally, and when they went to court, evidence proved that what they had
What does that
said
have to
was
do
a
with
lie.
ballots?
Yeah, that was a
Government
state
lies.
judge that
That's the
overturned it,
point.
released the people, and
All
a
right,
federal
Kevin, a
court
quick
picked it
last
up.
word.
Come on, lady.
Oh, wow.
Get your facts
Which I'm
straight.
not
My
sure.
last word is, you're all nuts. Like, that's just...
Oh, my God.
Thank you, Kevin. That's
Guys,
am I in on
please.
that? Okay.
Look, we got to keep it together here, okay?
We are.
Honestly.
Yeah, we got to keep it together, guys. But yeah, they'll sit there and tear anybody down that they can that has an opposing viewpoint when they're on the winning side. They know they don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to voter ID. Even Mexico has voter ID. Mexico, the people that are calling us racist for wanting voter ID inside of the United States, they have voter ID. It's insane. This whole situation is crazy. Even business leaders are jumping into this fight, calling out media narratives as completely detached from reality. We got C3 today. Haven't seen that account in a while. Mitch McConnell is a no vote on the SAVE Act. Over 90% of his constituents would vote yes, but his owners don't want it. Again, this is about their corporate sponsors. Let's see what they have to say.
Mitch, are you afraid of the America First wing that's replacing your Republican establishment? Are you scared of Tucker Carlson?
Of course, Mitch McConnell's scared. He's about to be retired out. He just got out of the hospital again. This is why term limits should be the case. When you're inside of DC or you're in your state capital, you're a state rep, a state senator, or a congressman, or a senator, or whoever, U.S. senator, you are inside of a bubble. Your people tell you what's going on, and you don't really get a lot of outside information. You're in lobbyist meetings all day. You're in different committees. You're doing all of these things. So you really only read what your people want you to read. So a lot of these people are stuck in a vacuum. It's the same thing that happens to the presidents. We happen to have a president in office right now where we have Elon Musk and X and all that, where they can see the news and they can see what the people want, and they're listening. A lot of they's old senators, they're not up to time. They don't even know how to turn a computer on. So they're inside of these vacuums thinking that all these numbers they hear are just the only facts that exist. But the grassroots are turning on establishment Republicans. We are, yes, creating pressure from both sides of the aisle. We've got a tweet from Lindell TV saying, breaking Fulton County attorney admits non-citizens were registered to vote. And the FBI just seized how many boxes from Fulton County? It's pretty crazy. And we got states all over the country that are sitting here now burning their records. Will County, Illinois, just sent out an order the same day that the Fulton County was getting rid of their ballots. The Will County ordered their ballots from 2020 to be destroyed. There's a lot of cover-ups going on, guys. Let's see what's happening.
My name is Karen Pashuta. I am the attorney for the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections. I was just retained on Monday. You've probably seen me here before, though. Our office only represents local government clients, and I usually handle all the election offices. So I have been here before. With this case, we do admit that all three of the registrants that were in Fulton County appear to not be citizens. One of them was registered in 2013. The other two were in 2017. None of them have a voting history. Since that time, the system has changed immensely, and especially with Jarvis. Now, there's more affirmative steps that have to be taken, that they have checked yes to everything, including that they are a U.S. citizen. And also you upload basically the proof of their citizenship. So since then, not only has the state enhanced its procedures and the procedure with Jarvis, also the standard operating procedures are newer than they were in 2013 and 2017. You should have received an email yesterday. That packet does include a copy of that portion of Fulton's operating procedures and the steps that registration officials take to verify all the information, to make sure that they are not already registered with their driver's license or other information, and also to include the citizenship information.
And I think she talked a little bit on some of the technology that has to go into place. I mean, there's counties all across this country that are working off of Windows 98, servers. And so for them to go back and update and have all these things and cross-reference it and how they send the data from the county back over to the state Secretary of State's office, and then the communication back and forth is laid out in law in most states, but most states are out of compliance and most counties are out of compliance on it. This is like a second or third or maybe the 50th thing they ever think about. They care more about getting in the Dominion voting machines than they do actually doing their jobs. So we're seeing real evidence emerge that validates exactly what the SAVE Act supporters have been warning about. From Resist the Mainstream, we have a must-see Elon Musk. The same people that demand vaccine IDs, if you want to travel or do anything, are the same ones who say no to voter ID. You guys remember during COVID? Like, man, you had to have your card to go on an airplane. You had to go out there, and if you wanted to go shopping, you had to have something here, and you had to show people there. It's incredibly bad what they did. And they're trying to have us all forget about it. Nobody wants to talk about this anymore. But they did this to us, and that was okay back then. But now when they could potentially lose congressional seats and not have a president for 40 years that's a Democrat, they're flipping the tables, and they're standing firm on, integrity and trusting people. Let's see. Maybe.
And the same people that demanded vaccine IDs for if you want to travel or do anything are the same ones who say no voter ID is required.
Is there any reason
Obviously hypocritical.
To pass a law like that except to abet voter fraud?
It's so that fraud cannot be proven. So it enables large scale fraud and no way to prove it, because how would you prove it? It's literally impossible. No ID. You're not even allowed to show your ID. It's insane.
Well, it is insane.
Insane. The purpose of no voter ID is obviously to conduct fraud in elections. Obviously.
There can be no other explanation.
I mean, they come up with some nice sounding thing.
People don't have IDs. Could you live in this country without an ID?
Yeah, I mean, their common rebuttal is like it's racist to require ID. and which is insane. I think it's actually racist and patronizing to say that people can't figure out how to get ID. Obviously.
But how could you live here without an ID? I don't think it's even possible.
Can't.
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
You need ID for everything. Like the list of things you need ID for is basically everything, except voting.
So what Elon Musk just did, he applied Occam's razor to the situation. Like if the answers are super complex, usually it's the easiest answer, the most logical answer, that's the true one. So when you apply Occam's razor to this, it's either one, they're doing this because they're stupid, or they're doing this because they want to cheat, or they know that they have an advantage if they do that. There is no other outcome for that. And the most likely outcome of that Occam's razor application is that the Democrats are knowing that this greatly benefits them. That's the only reason why they're going to do this. So Musk is connecting the dots, connecting this to a COVID hypocrisy, but Democrats are actually proving the point about non-citizens voting themselves. Let's see what's going on. All right. From a Muse. I love that account. SAVAC, Democrat Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger, that's a name, confirms that requiring ID to vote would discourage non-citizens from voting. Oh, incredible. Let's see. If it loads. Internet's
when someone chooses to vote absentee for the first time that they're also voting, there are additional hurdles. And they need to provide a photocopy of their driver's license. For some, they need to have a signature that's matched nearly identical to their voter registration. And some of these hurdles might really disadvantage newer voters and particularly younger voters.
Oh, there you go. So we're going to disadvantage the people that we want to bring in, because as soon as they turn 18, they've already been indoctrinated at school since they were like 5. So the state got them for 13 years to be little communists sort of running around and doing the perfect little communist takeover of the country that they want. Of course, they want to get them IDs right away. They want non-citizens to vote. They have to keep the power. They're this close to taking over the world. Remember when they deplatformed the sitting president of the United States? They took him off of everything. The man that's leading free speech across the whole world. They took him off of the internet. This is their final control. They have to have the next establishment. They have to have the next presidency, the Congress, in order to push their agenda. But I will say the mask is coming off when the establishment Republicans like McConnell vote against what 90% of their own constituents want. You're not looking at representation. You're looking at an occupation. They're not serving you guys. They're serving whoever benefits from this chaos. The SAVE Act isn't just about voter ID. It's about whether we're still a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic if we can keep it. And I will never say democracy, that we're a democracy. But here's what this really comes down to. They demand your papers to buy coffee, but they'll call you racist for requiring ID to choose the leader of the free world. And that's not hypocrisy. That's a deliberate strategy to make elections unverifiable while keeping you compliant in other areas of life. When Fulton County admits non-citizens were registered and Mitch McConnell still votes no on basic election security, you're witnessing the uniparty protect a rigged system, and it is rigged. The SAVE Act has 90% support because Americans aren't stupid. We can see exactly what's happening. So tell me this, do you think requiring an ID to vote is as important as requiring it for everything else, like flying? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. And while you guys are there, check out the Next News merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.
The system controls information. Information control is power. I want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.